It's July 6th, 2008, a day when celebrities like 50 Cent, Kevin Hart, Zion Williamson, and BMPHF1 celebrated their birthdays. It was also the same day when the greatest tennis match of all time took place between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, who battled it out in a 5-set thriller for the Wimbledon title. But for British F1 fans, it was the day their man put on a masterclass on how to drive in the wet. It was a race that has gone down as one of the best performances in F1 history. 2 weeks prior to this race at the French Grand Prix, Felipe Massa took the win and extended his advantage over Lewis Hamilton to 10 points after the Brits had an off weekend, finishing 10th. As always, England did not disappoint in terms of the weather. It was a brisk day, 15-degree air temperature, 16-degree track temperature, and rain. A lot of rain.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The grid lineup was as follows. Nico Rosberg started from the pit lane due to making setup changes after the cars had gone into Parc Fermé. Starting from the back of the grid, there was the Force Indias of Sutil and Fisichella, followed by the two Hondas of Button and Barrichello, followed by Nakajima, Trulli, Bourdais, Glock, and Coulthard. Then for the top 10, there was Kubica, championship leader Felipe Massa in his Ferrari, and up-and-coming star Sebastian Vettel. Then we had the two Renaults of Piquet and Alonso, followed by Heidfeld, Hamilton, Raikkonen, Webber, and Kovalainen on pole position. With heavy rain and Massa way down the order, Hamilton knew it was his opportunity to regain some ground in the championship over his Brazilian rival. 150,000 trackside and millions watching from home, the entire world was about to witness greatness before their eyes. The lights went out. Crucially, Hamilton got the best start on the grid, squeezing past Webber and Raikkonen on the inside heading into turn 1. He was so close to taking the lead before his teammates cut him off, almost taking both of them out. As lap 1 progressed, Mark Webber only lasted 6 corners before losing control and spinning, and Felipe Massa did the same at the bridge. David Coulthard and Sebastian Vettel were tussling for position, and as a result, both ended up in the gravel trap and their races were over. For a few laps, Hamilton followed his teammates closely. You could see the confidence with which he was driving. While other drivers were dropping like flies, Hamilton was in full command of his MP423, finding grip in places others couldn't. Then on lap 5, at Stowe Corner, Hamilton dived up the inside of Kovalainen, a move that was reminiscent of Nigel Mansell on Nelson Piquet in 1987. However, the lead was not secured just yet. A charging Spaniard in a Renault named Fernando Alonso had opted to start the race on full wet tyres, while most other drivers started on the faster but less grippy intermediates. With the rain continuing to fall, Alonso was closing in at a rapid rate of a second per lap. Hamilton needed to pull away from his teammate in order to cut off the threat from Alonso. So how did Hamilton respond? The very next lap in clean air, Hamilton went a full 0.8 of a second faster than the Spaniard, and by lap 10, he had already extended his lead over Kovalainen to 6 seconds before he spun and handed second place to his fellow countryman Kimi Raikkonen. Hamilton continued with his blistering pace, lap after lap after lap. But as the track got drier and drier, he started to struggle as he had taken a lot out of his tyres during the first stint. This allowed Raikkonen back into the race as he started gaining a second per lap on a rapidly drying track. A decision had to be made by the teams as to what strategy call to make. Based on the forecast, it was only supposed to rain lightly for a few more laps before it completely stopped. Therefore, sticking a dry set of tyres on the car would gain you seconds in lap time over your competitors. However, if the forecast was wrong, as it so often is here in the UK, then you can lose out massively if you put dry tyres on when the track is wet, and there's a high risk that you will crash. But the real question was, who would come into the pits first, Hamilton or Raikkonen? The answer was both. Both drivers entered the pit lane, so it was a straight battle between the mechanics to get their drivers out in front. Both drivers refueled, but Hamilton also switched to a new set of intermediate tyres while Raikkonen stuck with his old ones. Now you're probably wondering, why does this have any significance? Well, if it were to rain again, then Hamilton would be in a much better position as he had a fresh set of intermediates. In wet conditions, an old, worn set of intermediate tyres means that the car does not have enough grip to even stay on the track as the tyres lose temperature. Therefore, Raikkonen needed for it to stay dry, if we were to have any shot at winning this race. So what happened? Lap 22 came around and it started to drizzle just a little bit. Nevertheless, Raikkonen was a full second slower on that lap than Hamilton. Lap 23, Raikkonen loses 1.5 seconds to the Brit. It's starting to rain harder. At the end of lap 24, Raikkonen had lost a total of almost 8 seconds to Hamilton in just 3 laps. Ferrari had made the wrong decision. From then on, Raikkonen lost 5 seconds per lap to Hamilton, who just continued to surge further and further ahead. His teammates was coming up to overtake the struggling Ferrari, and as he sent it up the inside at Luffield, Nick Heidfeld sneakily made his way through both drivers and moved up to second place. From there, the race started to settle down again, and the crowd became very calm. As long as Lewis had a big lead over Heidfeld, they felt very relaxed. But one small twitch, one lapse in concentration, an ounce of extra force on the accelerator, and his race could have ended in a heartbeat. And then on lap 37, this happened.
Some of the best marshals in the world.
Oh, it's
and
Lewis.
Lewis is across
And
the
Kibitz
grass.
is off as well. Everybody's struggling here. They're going to have to switch the extreme wets very soon, I think. Hamilton's got away with that.
The fans in the grandstands gasped in panic. Hamilton lost control due to the rain getting heavier and nearly beached his car in the gravel trap. Surely it was time for full wets. As Hamilton came into the pits, McLaren had both sets of full wets and intermediate tyres prepared just in case the rain started to slow down. Hamilton pulled into his pit slots and the mechanics fitted the intermediates to his car. Was this a gamble or a masterstroke? Rubens Barrichello in the Honda had full wet tyres on and he was a full 9 seconds faster than most other drivers on the track. At that present moment in time, Barrichello was on the right tyres, but the clouds started to disappear and the sun was coming out. All Hamilton needed to do was hold on for a few more laps for the track to dry and he would be safe. This was a true test of skill for anyone on intermediate tyres. Raikkonen and Massa were clearly not fit for the extreme conditions as they kept spinning lap after lap, somehow avoiding the barriers every single time. Another championship contender, Robert Kubica, lost the rear and beached his car into the gravel. With the 3 biggest threats in the championship falling victim to the challenges of a wet Silverstone, if Hamilton could keep all of it together and win this race, it would be a huge turning point in his championship campaign. So now you're probably thinking, Hamilton should just take it cautiously and just make it to the finish line. Well, that's just not how he's built. Hamilton completely rose into a level of his own, pulling away nearly 4 seconds a lap from Nick Heidfeld. In fact, he was going so fast that his engineers told him to slow down as Heidfeld was no threat to him. He continued to pump in lightning quick lap times over and over and over again, as if to send a message to his rivals saying, "I am the best driver on the grid." On lap 60, Hamilton came around Luffield for one last time and crossed the finish line 1 minute and 8 seconds ahead of Nick Heidfeld and had lapped every single driver up to 3rd place. It was the largest margin of victory since the 1995 Australian Grand Prix. On this day, the 6th of July 2008, the wet weather master was born. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel to see plenty more F1 content in the near future. Also, comment your thoughts on the 2008 British Grand Prix and share this video with everyone in the F1 community and beyond. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.